Welcome to our beautiful book, Goals by Brian Tracy. Today we are on chapter number 13, Make a Plan of Action. Albert Hubbard says, thoroughness characterizes all successful men. Genius is the art of taking infinite pains. All great achievements has been characterized by extreme care, infinite painstaking, even to the minutest of details. It's so amazing, and all these opening proverbs are absolutely amazing. Let's move on to our beautiful session. Your ability to set goals and make plans for their accomplishment is the master skill of success. There's no other skill that will help you more in fulfilling your potential and achieving everything that you are able to accomplish. All major accomplishments today are multitask jobs. They consist of a series of steps that must be taken in a particular way in order to accomplish a result of any significance. Even something as simple as preparing a dish in the kitchen with a recipe is a multitask job. Your ability to master the skill of planning and completing multitask jobs will enable you to accomplish vastly more than the average person, and is critical to your success. The purpose of planning is to enable you to turn your major definite purpose into a planned multitask project with specific steps, a beginning, middle, and an end, with clear deadlines and sub-deadlines. Fortunately, this is a skill that you can learn and master with practice. This skill will make you one of the most effective and influential people in your business or organization. And the more you practice it, the better you will get at it. Putting your plans together. Fortunately, in the previous chapters, you have identified and assembled all the ingredients necessary to create a plan for the achievement of one or more of your goals. By now, number one, you now have a clear vision of your ideal end result or goal based on your values. You know what you want and why you want it. So those of us who still haven't done this assignment when the book was rolling, it's imperative that you start writing and journaling that, what are my values, what is something that I really like, what is it I'm good at, and then why do I want to do what I do. When you start writing this detailing, you will realize that you are gifted with something, some innate quality, and if you expand that and make that into a profession, then nothing like it. That's what ikigai is. If you're passionate about something and you make that into a profession, it's amazing. In our Vedanta classes, my Guruji would always say, लक्ष्य साध लो तो लक्ष्मी जी अपने आप आ जाती हैं. So it's very beautiful to know that you have to sadho a lakshay, you have to have a goal. And if you don't have, we're still not late. The good news is we can still do it. But please do it. Do not stall any further. 2, you have written out your goals, organized them by priority, and selected your major definite purpose. Again, 80-20 principle, if you remember. We write down our goals, we organize that, what is the 5 most important things, and 3 most, and then 1 most. And then we know, okay, this is my major definite purpose. This is non-negotiable. Number 3, you have created measures and standards to track your progress. You have set both deadlines and sub-deadlines as targets to aim at. Number 4, you have now identified the key obstacles, difficulties, and constraints that stand between you and your goal, and organize them by priority. So it's very important. We have been taught already by Brian Tracy that difficulties are going to come. They're imperative. You can't do anything without difficulty. In fact, difficulty will become easy when you start finding out why, how do I improve? Then we must realize that if we realize that we have these problems, then there's always a solution. If there's an obstacle, there's always a way to remove the obstacle. If there's a difficulty, it's also going to become easy. If there's a constraint, it will also become one of my values, which I'll be able to cross over very easily. And once that is happening, then nothing and nobody in the world can stop you from finding your goals, reaching to your goals. Number 5, you have identified the essential knowledge and skills that you will require to achieve your goal, which means we have been taught again and again, whatever I want to do, I must excel in that. Take my book knowledge, do my audio knowledge, and then Be in the right company with mentors, people who've been there, done there. Keep asking them what worked for you, what did not work for you. Number 6, you have organized these competencies by priority and developed a plan to learn what you need to learn to accomplish what you have decided to accomplish. Again, very important to understand that hamare advantages kya hai? Where am I competent? Now, wherever I'm competent, give that a priority. Make a plan and learn. Okay, now, in order to do this, what do I need to learn further? And once we learn to accomplish that, then it's half the job is done. Number 7, you have identified the people, groups, and organizations whose help and cooperation you will require, both inside and outside your business. You have decided on the specific steps you're going to take to earn the support and assistance of these people in achieving your goal. Throughout the process, you've written and taken notes so that you now accomplish. So that you now possess the raw materials and tools for the creation of a plan of accomplishment. Now you're ready to put it all together into a plan of action. Isn't that absolutely remarkable? The planning process is essential. Some time ago, Inc. magazine reported on a study they had conducted of 50 startup companies. Half of these companies had spent several months and even more to develop complete business plans before they began operations. The other half of this group had started without detailed business plans and was simply reacting to events as they occurred in the day-to-day operations of the business. 2 to 3 days later, years later, the researchers went back to determine the level of success and profitability of these companies. What they found was quite interesting. The companies that had started operations with clear written business plans, carefully thought through and detailed in every respect, were vastly more successful and profitable than those companies that had started spontaneously and had made things up as they went along. So again, what do you realize? That if you're clear, if everything is written down, it's not in हवा में नहीं है, दिमाग में नहीं, सब लिखा हुआ है, and carefully इसको सोचा हुआ है, detailing बनाई हुई है, and then you're going to implement them, you will be far more successful than people who करते, they're keeping on developing their stage. So it's very important. The companies that had started on the back of an envelope, where the founders were too busy to sit down and do the detailed work of strategic planning, were almost all floundering. Many of them were already bankrupt and had gone out of business. Same thing you are going to see in India, in the new rising India. We have so many startups, those that are not planned very carefully. What happens? Thousands and hundreds of crores, and it just goes kaput, all finished. So much of investors, so much of money invested in, so finishes off. So planning and execution both are as important as each other. They're complementary. The planning process was a key. Here was a most interesting discovery. When they interviewed the business founders, they asked them, how often do you refer to your strategic plan in the day-to-day operations of your business? In almost every case, the entrepreneurs and executives running the businesses had not looked at the strategic plan since it had been completed some months ago. Once it was done, they put it in a drawer and seldom revisited it until the following year when they went through the strategic planning process again. So what does this make you realize? That revisiting, remeasuring is very, very important. The most important finding was this. The plan itself was seldom referred to, but the process of thinking through the key elements of the business was vital to their success. Planning pays off. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, after the successful invasion of Normandy in World War II, was asked about the detailed planning process that went into the invasion. He said, the plans were not important, but the planning process was critical. It is an exercise of working through and discussing every key element of the business plan that is more important than any other step at the beginning. So again, those of you who keep the book in your hand, you can highlight this. This is why Alex McKenzie, the time management expert, said, action without planning is the cause of every failure. An old military axiom says, no plan ever survives first contact with the enemy. From the first day that you begin actual business operations, the situation will change so rapidly that your plans will become obsolete in many respects within a few days or even a few hours. But it is a process of planning that is most important. Scott McNeely of Sun Microsystems says, in a startup business, you have to throw out all assumptions every 3 weeks. The basis of all great achievements, all successful business work with from written plans. The great achievements of mankind, from the building of the pyramids forward to the great industrial operations of the modern age, were preceded by and accompanied by detailed plans, carefully designed and thought through from beginning to end before they began. In fact, every minute spent in planning saves 10 minutes in execution. Every minute that you spend planning and thinking before you begin will save you time, money, and energy in getting the results you desire. This is why it is said that failing to plan is planning to fail. Planning saves time and expense. The number one reason for failure is action without planning. People who say that they're too busy to plan in advance must be prepared for unnecessary mistakes and great losses of time, money, and energy. It is said that every new business startup is a race against time. From the first day, the company founders are scrambling to find a way to make more money than it costs to stay in business. If they figure out the profit model and begin generating revenues in excess of costs before the money runs out, the business can turn the corner and succeed. But if the money runs out before they figure out how to make profits, then losses, the company, like a plane in a dive, will crash and burn. So, what's the formula for success? There's a 6P formula for personal and business success. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. So, if we are properly beforehand going to plan, then we are going to avoid any possible downfall, any possible failure. There are 7 advantages to proper prior planning. First, the planning process forces you to organize your thinking and identify all the key issues that must be dealt with if you are ultimately going to be successful. Second, thinking through what you must do to accomplish your goals enables you to plan your action carefully before you begin, thereby saving you enormous costs of time, people, and money. Third, a good plan, thoroughly discussed and evaluated, enables you to identify flaws and errors that could prove fatal to your business later on. It enables you to ask, what if kind of questions. For example, what are the worst possible things that could happen if you were to take a particular course of action? So these what's, whys, and hows are extremely important for our own realization of where we stand. You can't get there from here. In many cases, as a result of careful planning and analysis, the decision makers will realize that it is not possible to achieve a particular goal with the time or resources available or under the existing circumstances. Sometimes the very best business deals in your career are the ones that you don't get into in the very first place. I worked for a wealthy man some years ago who gave me a piece of advice I never forgot. He said, it's always easier to get into something than it is to get out of it. He taught me the time to do the careful thinking is before you commit resources and people, not afterwards. So again, with the prior line that we just read, that's easier to get into something and difficult to get out. So please understand, everything to start, lagta hai, chalo, let's do it, which is not bad. But then we have to plan. Suppose you are going to invest in a restaurant. Okay, you have the money, you invest in a restaurant. But what's the exit plan? If the restaurant is doing well, you don't want to exit. But if it's not doing well, how do you exit? Who will buy your bit? Very important for us to keep thinking of decisions. चक्रव्यूह में फंसा था ना अभिमन्यु, घुस तो गया, निकलना नहीं आया. बात अलग थी that his mother slept and blah blah blah. That's a different story. But again, it reiterates: to enter is easy, to exit isn't. So think about it before you enter. If your planning is not there, stall your entry. Wait. Don't be hasty. Identify the weaknesses in advance. The fourth benefit of proper prior planning, is that it enables you to identify weaknesses in your plan and make provisions to compensate for those weaknesses. Often you can identify a fatal flaw that, if you were not aware of, would lead to the failure of the enterprise. This is only possible by going through the planning process. Determine your opportunities. Fifth, planning enables you to identify strengths and potential opportunities that you can take advantage of to increase the likelihood of success. Often, you will be unaware of your particular strengths or the opportunities that exist in the situation before you go through the planning process. Focus your energies. The sixth benefit of planning is that it enables you to focus your time and money, concentrate all of your resources on the one or two objectives that you must be able to achieve to make the enterprise successful. In the absence of clear focus and concentration, you will tend to spread your energies over a wide area and end up accomplishing very little. The seventh benefit of proper planning is that it will inevitably save you hours, weeks, and months of confusion, mistakes, and losses of both money and energy. The vital discipline. Planning is a discipline and a skill. It is both a habit and a competence. This means that you can learn from them to a high level through repetition and practice. Planning is a skill that you can master, and it is much easier than you might think. List every task and activity. In the simplest form, a plan is a list of every activity that you will have to engage in, from the beginning to the end, in accomplishing a specific goal or objective. To begin the process of planning, you take a sheet of paper and you make a list of everything that you can think of that you will have to do to achieve your goal. As you think of new items, add them to the list. Continually revisit your list and revise the items and steps as you get more information. This list becomes your blueprint for the construction of your dream house, your ideal goal or result. I hope you kind of making these points, nothing to elaborate in them, so I'm just reading them out. But it's important to highlight them or write them wherever we are planning to implement them. Determine priority and sequence. The process of planning is for you to now organize your list by priority and sequence. You organize the items on your list by priority by determining which tasks or activities are more important than other tasks or activities. You organize the items from number one, the most important, all the way through to the least important. You organize your list by sequence as well. In sequencing, you determine which activities need to be done before or after other activities. Often, one task can't be accomplished until another task has been completed. Sometimes, the accomplishment of a single task can be the bottleneck or choke point in the entire process. Identify the limiting factor. In planning, very often, the success of the plan will be determined by the achievement of a particular goal or objectives within the plan. It may be the completion of construction on a new office, store, or factory. It may be the date of delivery of the first finished product or service. It may be the achievement of a particular level of sales by a specific date. It could be the hiring of a key person for an essential job. The planning process helps you to identify the vital elements of the plan and focus more of your time and attention on the most important tasks and activities that must be accomplished before success is possible. Expect failure at first. This is something which everyone should realize. We think this is a foolproof plan. But if we say it's a foolproof plan, we are being fools, because nothing is foolproof. When we practice, when we do something, something is bound to fail, and that failure will teach us a lesson. So expect failure at first. No plan is perfect the first time it is created. Most plans to accomplish something new will fail over and over again at the beginning. This is to be expected. Your ability to accept feedback and make corrections to your plans of activity is vital to your success. Keep asking, what's working? What's not working? Be more concerned with what's right rather than who's right. Remember the old saying, back to the drawing board. When your plan doesn't work, relax. Take a deep breath and revisit your plan. Focus on the solution. When you have a problem, resolve to be solution oriented. Expect difficulties as a part of the process and resolve to respond to them effectively. If you're not achieving your goals on schedule, ask, what is the problem? What else is the problem? What are the solutions? What else is a solution? What can we do now? What is the next step? It seems that when you begin work on the achievement of a new goal, you immediately experience setbacks, obstacles, difficulties, and temporary failure. This is to be expected. It is normal and natural. It takes tremendous effort to launch something new and make it successful. But this is the price that you have to pay to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself. Think on paper. Always think on paper. Now, this is something we must learn because, again, I'm going to repeat, a human mind has 30 to 40,000 thoughts in one single day. So if you start thinking mentally, you aren't going to achieve, it'll be one of those thousands of thoughts. But if you put things on paper, it becomes clear. So be continually making lists and sub lists of every step in every process. Keep updating and revising your plan, making it better and better until it is perfect. Remember, planning is a skill because it is a skill. It is completely learnable. Your ability to think, plan, organize, and initiate action towards a goal will eventually put you in the top 10% of your field, but it takes time. One of the ways that you can think on paper is to create a project planning sheet for the accomplishment of a multitask goal. In this way, you create a visual image of your goal and the steps you need to take to achieve it. This can be very helpful in opening your eyes to the strengths and weaknesses of the planning process. The project planning model. In project planning, you write the days, weeks, and months that you think the project will require to complete across the top of the page. If it's a 12-month project or goal, you write the names of the 12 months from this month on forward. This gives you a timeline for the project. Down the left-hand column, you make a list of all the tasks that must be accomplished in proper sequence for you to achieve the ultimate goal. What will you need to start or do first, second, and so on. In the lower right-hand corner, you clearly write what your final ideal result will look like. The greater clarity you have about your desired goal, the easier it will be for you to reach it. You can now use horizontal bars to indicate the amount of time necessary from beginning to end to complete a particular task. Some of these tasks can be done simultaneously, and others will have to be done after something else is completed. Certain of these tasks are of high priority and others are of low priority. But with a proper planning sheet, which you can now make yourself with a sheet of paper, you can now see your entire goal laid out in front of you with great clarity. Assemble your team. Everyone who's responsible for carrying out a part of the plan should be involved in the planning process. It's quite common to make the mistake of assuming that a particular task can be completed quickly and easily. It is often a shock to find out that something that seems simple and easy is actually going to take several months from beginning to end. A time constraint on the critical part of your plan can force you to revise your plans completely. One of my managers decided to put out a newsletter to all of the customers on a new development in our business. He called a commercial designer and told her he needed it by the end of the week. He was shocked to discover that a professionally written, designed, and produced newsletter could take 6 to 8 weeks to print and mail and cost more than $2,000. That project was immediately scrapped. When you start the planning process, the biggest concern should be accuracy in your identifying every step necessary and the exact time required to accomplish every step in the plan. There's a time for optimism and there's a time for realism in making plans and achieving goals. You must be absolutely honest with yourself at every step of the planning process and never trust to luck or hope that the laws of nature will be suspended temporarily on your behalf. Identify the potential bottleneck. In the process of planning, there's usually one major problem that must be solved before any other problems can be solved. There's usually one major goal that must be achieved before any of the other goals can be achieved. There's usually one critical element in the plan that must be dealt with before any other part of the plan can be successful. For example, many companies will start up with every single detail in place except for a professional sales process to bring in revenues. The company will engage in a strategic planning process, rent or lease offices, buy furniture, set up the necessary computers and equipment to produce the product or service, hire the administrative and business staff, set up the books of account, and begin advertising. But a first class selling process has not been installed, and within a few months or even weeks, without sales revenue, the company grinds to a halt. To a large extent, this is what happens to turn the dot-com explosion into a dot bomb collapse. Fabulous. Determine the critical results. What are the critical results that you must accomplish at every step of the way to achieve your final goal? How can you plan them, prioritize them, and assure that they are completed on schedule? What is your plan if things go wrong? What will you do if it takes much longer and costs much more to achieve your critical objectives on your way to the goal? What is your fallback plan? You may have heard the line, a great life, like a great ship, should never be held by a single hope or a single rope. Planning is the key to success. The good news is that the very act of planning improves and streamlines the entire process of goal achievement. The more often and more carefully you plan before you begin, the better you will get at the planning process overall. The better you get at planning, the more ideas and opportunities will attract to you to plan and achieve even bigger and better things. Your ability to decide exactly what you want, write it down, make a plan, and then execute the plan is a key to personal effectiveness and high achievement. These are learnable skills that you can master in no time at all. You can transform your life or business, double your sales profitability, achieve your goals, and fulfill your true potential. So let's sum up this chapter by having these 5 points. Make a plan of action. Make a list of everything that you can think of that you will have to do to achieve your goal. Leave nothing out. Organize your list by priority. What is the most important task or activity? The second most important, and so on. Organize your list by sequence. What must be done before something else can be done? Determine how much money and time it will take to achieve your goal to complete your task. Do you have the time and resources necessary for success? Revisit and revise your plan regularly, especially when you get new information or things are not going as you had expected. Be prepared to change if you need to. How wonderful. Today's chapter was fairly simple, so I don't think we really needed to elaborate. But yes, now it's time for all of us to sit together and meditate with the gratitude of Lotus of Gratitude. So here we go. Let's close the eyes and bring our hands as two beautiful buds near our heart. Slowly tune into your wonderful breath. The first gratitude today could be for our breath. Whichever gratitude you want to express, let's take 100 seconds and circle back. Life gives us so many opportunities to see the various kind of blessings that we all have. Not one, but many. Not few, but so many. If we start looking at the finer print in our life, from our breath to our body to the clothes to the house to the food to the water to whatever we consume or wherever we live, however we feel, everything in itself is a blessing. May we continue to count our blessings. May we continue to grow so much deeper into ourselves, to learn, to evolve, to channel our energy in the right part, right field. Life is full of love. Life is full of blessings. Now put your hands near your heart, on your heart, and thank your heart for making you so full of love and light, for making you so thankful that you can count so many blessings. 10 is what we are asked to count, but we can count far too many. Such are the blessings in our life. May we always keep growing inwards and becoming more magical every single day. With so much of love, so much of light, let's call it a night. I'll see you tomorrow. Mostly, I'll be going to Bombay. So if I have a night plan with my friends or family, then I may not meet you. However, whatever is the update, I'm going to put it on the group. So until then, sleep tight and have a good night. I'll see you in the gap. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.